All right, now I've got the legs to do, and I'm working on using these little broken up shapes to suggest legs. And so now that I've got my references, and I want to play with their levels, this is really the first one I need to dial back the highlight a little bit. It's a little too strong. Maybe even deepen the midtones a bit. But then also limit the darkest darks. So because these are white forms with these very subtle form shadows, every little decision really matters in terms of its coloring. But now I'm going to take this little clump, I'm going to hit Command X and then Command V to duplicate it on its own layer. Which it did, you just can't see it. And now I'll move that, and I'm going to use that as part of the back leg. See? Starts to suggest a leg, it's believable. Okay, now I'm going to take this grouping. Hardest thing is keeping all of your layers straight. Let me see, what do I need from it? Yeah, I like that little ankle back there. So I'm going to take this group of it here. Let's see. And I like that. So I'm going to Command X all of that and then paste it back in a way that I can move it and reposition it. So I'm just using lots of little cloud forms. Good. And now I'm going to take that same grouping, Command X one more time, even though it leaves me with a hard edge there, which I will fix in a minute. Paste it in, bring it down, rotate it maybe just a little bit. I'm going to use this to suggest those front legs. Turn auto select back on and decide what I can work with. I'm going to take the opacity down a bit on that. And now with 100% opacity eraser, a little bit smaller, I'm going to get rid of these hard edges on these background layers. Command plus to zoom in. Get rid of those hard edges. Those are the enemy to clouds. Selective erasing. Being able to work between layers is the key. Actually, I kind of like that. All right. You can also try selectively, in this case, dodging, brightening the midtones. If you need something to come out a little bit, right, that can be very effective. Again, you don't need it to be very strong for it to be really cloud-like. But what I like about dodging rather than just erasing is it brings out what's already in the pixels. You're working with the exposure that's already there. And we are doing these as direct adjustment tools, affecting the pixels. We're not doing this as an overlay or over the top on a safe layer like we've done in the past. And then I haven't done any clone stamping in a while, but we're getting close to where we might need some of that as a way of finishing it all off. So I'm going to selectively dodge in here and kind of bring out things that suggest legs. It's a very loose interpretation. Maybe I'll connect the cloud right there, like one cloud's coming from another. But if you dodge in the wrong place, It will make your lighting look off. All right, so I've got these kind of legs going, kind of, sort of. I've got the foliage and the horns. I've got the back. I've got the tail. What I don't have is really a discernible head. And in order to kind of see what that looks like, I'm going to bring in my PNG. Actually, I should have it as a layer still somewhere. Here it is. And I'm going to shrink that down into the corner. And this is optional, but I think it's a fun thing to do with this project. Just so we can see all in one place what you're trying to suggest. And is there any way I can bring that head out? Well, I can bring it out right here. And I can do that in a few ways. This will be one of the ways I finish it off. I can do it first through dodging, through highlighting, where the edges I want to catch light. And I can do it through burning. I can even kind of burn a subtle eye focal point, like that, for my creature. Right. And it's going to be different for each of you. I think maybe most helpfully I can dodge it here where the neck connects and make this edge feel less solid here as it does back here. And I am not painting, I am just dodging, just bringing out the mid-tone highlights. And now I'm going to erase back a little bit with a lower opacity. Not from that layer, though. To get to the right layer. From this layer. Just tap, tap, tap. Just a little bit of... All right. And now... Whoa, that was crazy. I accidentally hit something. Okay, there we go. Good to know. All right. So now I can use that same technique to bring out the head and the neck, but this time I'll use the burn tool instead of the dodge tool. And deepen certain separations, certain shadows, in a little bit more targeted a way. Making sure, first and foremost, suggests a cloud. But now I have the body, the neck, the head, the crazy antlers, kind of dripping down. Go with a lower opacity eraser and knock back some of these. Going into the back, the tail. Tail's still a little clunky. Just barely needed there. Okay. The legs, and now I'm just going to perfect some of these edges. Using smudge if I need to, using the eraser where I can. To remind you of the smudge tool, it's just where you tug at the edges and you just do a little push and you just let the computer pull the wind on that cloud. Tug it one way or the other, just slightly. Works very well on edges that are a little harder than you want them to be. You need to soften them out. And then the blur tool can also be useful, but we've seen how long that takes to work, so I usually just avoid it. All right, so layers of cloud. You can do any last minute adjustments on your levels, if there's any edges that still look too strong. Or if you want to bring some clouds out more, brighter, softer than others. We have control of every pixel. That's what's amazing about Photoshop. That's why this program isn't going anywhere. Just gives us full control of all these different aspects. So it's up to us to decide where to use it. And this, of all the projects we've done so far using other people's pixels, this is the one where no one could ever successfully say that you stole their cloud. Right? We are really making this our own in so many different ways. The cloud is really just our palette. Okay, now notice this is without my cookie cutter turned on at all. Not that. Where is it? You see? And you shouldn't actually need it at the end. You're just using that as a nice inspiration. Now, I've had this same sky behind all of it the whole time. And maybe that's the perfect sky or not. But as you finish up, you want to revisit your gradation of the sky, and maybe you can make a better choice. Colors that better match the clouds that you've been making, the decisions you've been making. So if there are any, let's look up close here, because this is at 10 megapixels, and when we print it, it will reveal everything. So now I'm looking with an eye towards softening. A little hole in that cloud that doesn't quite look believable. You soften it up. There we go. Whoops. Whoops. Gotta be careful with that auto select. Any edges that look kind of weirdly sharp are going to be a problem. All right. So what you can also do is just lasso whole areas and then blur them with Gaussian blur, and you decide how much. So you don't need to do it to the whole layer. You can also do it to a selection. Okay, I'm liking all of this. Okay, this division here, that's a little weird. So I'm going to Gaussian blur this layer once. That helped a whole lot. And then this back edge, I can still see that sharp edge. Use the eraser there. Take that down. And probably just Gaussian blur it for good measure. Very good. Now don't blur everything to the same extent, because clouds have harder and sharper edges, just like anything three-dimensional. But you do have control over these choices. But if you blur it too much, it won't look like a solid form anymore.